Brittanee Drexel, kidnapped, raped, strangled, and thrown away in the woods on spring break, with no explanation, answers, or justice for 13 years. What happened? Who would have done such a horrible thing to a young girl? And why? April 22, 2009, a 17-year-old girl went away for spring break to Myrtle Beach without her parents' permission. After meeting an old friend on the 25th of April at the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, she sent her boyfriend a text, telling him that she is heading back home to the Motor Inn she and her friends were staying at. That was the last time the world heard from Brittanee Drexel, a young star on the soccer field with big dreams and aspirations. Her boyfriend, who was back home in New York, replied to her text message, but heard nothing back. A phone call from her boyfriend to her mother sparked an investigation that would last a long time. Brittanee's father, who adopted her, did not know she was going to Myrtle Beach for spring break. Just before she left, they got in a fight because she asked him if she could go, but he refused, saying that he has a bad feeling about it and feels like something might happen to her. After arguing back and forth for the whole day, Brittany asked her mom if she can go to her friend's house for a few days to calm down, and she said yes, which she would later come to regret. "I love you, Mom. See you tomorrow." Those were the last words Brittany said to her mother. The very next day, on the 26th of April, the initial search for Brittany began. She was last seen on the hotel surveillance cameras, leaving at about 8:45 p.m. Her cell phone transmitted its last known signal near the South Santee River between Georgetown and McClellanville. A lot of things were said, or thought. Did she run away? Did she disappear because she was mad at her parents? Was she rebelling? Her age counted against her in this case. A lot of teenagers run away because of fights with their parents. The investigation went on for a while. The searches came up with nothing. Brittanee Drexel vanished into thin air. On April 29th, it was reported by multiple people that Brittanee Drexel, or a person who matched her description, was spotted on a bus in Myrtle Beach. These claims were investigated by the police. According to a news channel, Peter Brozowitz, a friend of Brittany who was in Myrtle Beach at the time of her disappearance, retained an attorney. Apparently, he was the last person to see Brittany alive. Her family also deposited money into her account, hoping that they would see some activity from her and trace her location. Unfortunately, no activity was detected. In May, the Brittanee Drexel case went viral because Brittany's parents and Peter Brozowitz appeared on the Dr. Phil show, and after that, the story of Brittany was featured on America's Most Wanted. Brittany's parents begged the public to give them information if someone knew anything, but nothing happened, and their begging didn't harvest any fruits. In October, a miracle happened, or so they thought. Chad Drexel, Brittany's father, received a call from Brittany's phone number. Imagine that. For a second, he had hope. He thought he was going to hear his daughter's voice on the other side of the phone, but he was back to square one after he learned the cell company had given her number to a new customer. In June 2010, a 37-year-old man named Timothy Sean Taylor was arrested. He was accused of trying to kidnap a 20-year-old woman in Myrtle Beach. The woman hurt the abductor and managed to escape, and immediately Timothy was connected to Brittany's case. It made sense that it might have been the person they were looking for, and the Drexel family thought that justice is around the corner. They will get answers and finally lay this whole nightmare to rest. But 5 months after investigating this possibility, the police said that he is not connected to Brittany's disappearance, and they were back to relying on the public to give them answers. Since day one, Dawn Drexel, Brittany's mother, thought that her daughter has been trafficked, sold into slavery, probably sexual, she told a journalist during an interview. 10 years later, they were still looking for answers. A vigil was held by her friends and family near the place she was seen for the last time. In these 10 years, the world has learned a lot about Brittany, but not about the circumstances in which she disappeared. Let's go back to 2009. On April 26th, the day that the search for Brittany started, Raymond Moody, a registered sex offender, was issued a traffic ticket in Surfside Beach, just 8 miles from Myrtle Beach. Who is Raymond Moody, and why are we mentioning this? Raymond Moody spent 21 years in jail following an abduction and rape case in 1983 involving a 9-year-old girl. He lived an hour from Myrtle Beach at a motel in Georgetown. This puts him on top of the suspect list, but not for another 2 years. In November 2010, the police received an anonymous tip and searched an area near Charleston, South Carolina. According to Brittany's mother, this was the 47th search conducted since she disappeared. Other searches took place around this area by volunteers, family, and friends, but no evidence was found. They kept on coming up with nothing. On the first day of August 2011, police searched an apartment in connection to the case. This was the apartment of Raymond Moody at the time of Brittany's disappearance. However, Raymond no longer lived in this apartment during the search. In 2012, Raymond Moody was identified as the primary suspect of the case. Although they didn't have any new information, he was a person of interest who has been identified during the case. Between 2019 and 2020, investigators looked at the surveillance footage from the night Brittany disappeared. They scanned through the cell phone data as well and found Brittany's movement the night of her disappearance. The advances in GPS tracking technology led authorities to figure out that Brittany moved at a walking speed, but then began moving at a speed of 55 miles per hour, which means that she got into a vehicle. Surveillance footage showed one single vehicle pass the location where Brittany's cell phone last pinged while she was walking. The vehicle in the surveillance footage was tracked to no other than Raymond Moody. In 2022, his girlfriend, Angel Voss, agreed to work together with the FBI and wore a wire during a conversation she had with Moody. He spilled the beans on what happened to Brittanee Drexel. Raymond Moody committed the heinous act of raping and killing the young teenager. One would think she got abducted, but she didn't. Why would she get in the car out of free will? On May 5th, 2022, he admitted what he did and confessed to his crimes. But what actually happened during this night? He told the authorities that he and his girlfriend were driving in Myrtle Beach when they drove past Brittany. They stopped and asked if she wanted to get in the car and party with them. According to him, she got into the car voluntarily. However, her family disputed this claim. After she got into the car voluntarily, they drove to a campsite in Georgetown County and smoked marijuana. His girlfriend Angel left, and Raymond wanted to have sex with Brittany. When she refused, he raped her. He realized that she is going to go to the police and he would get in trouble, so he thought the best thing would be to murder her. So he strangled her, wrapped her body in a blanket, and hid her in the woods. Later, he returned to the spot where he hid her, moved her body, and buried her at another location. A bittersweet plea for Brittany's family. They realize that they can finally put it to rest, have peace, and that they have answers. But on the other hand, when they didn't know anything and were still asking the public for information, they at least still had hope that she will appear and that they would be able to hold her in their arms again. "I was a monster," Raymond told the court as he awaited his sentence. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison on the charges of kidnapping and criminal sexual conduct, and a life sentence on the first-degree murder charge for kidnapping, raping, and strangling. We finally had the answers we were looking for. We found out who did it, but we'll never truly understand the reason behind murdering a young girl with her whole life ahead of her.
That's all I have left. That's all we have left after what you did to her.